what are the characteristics that make a great negotiator in your field, and also how do those translate into the business and relationship world, just in general, outside of?
Well, let the other side go first. Um, most people are so they're burning with their argument. Here's why you should make this deal, and they've got that memorized, and they're not going to listen to a word you say till they get it out. So trying to talk to them is really like trying to talk to a paranoid schizophrenic,
Right.
because they're rehearsing their speech in their head and their logic, and so you just can't get through to them. So you let them go. You let them go first, and another guy, Ned Coletti, former GM of the Dodgers, friend of mine here in town, phenomenal negotiator. He's lectured at my class at USC also. And Ned always likes to let the other side go first. He did the Barry Bonds deal. He's done a ton of deals across the board. And Ned says, well, in a 2-hour phone call, there's going to be 90 seconds of solid gold, where the person I'm talking to, based on changes that they made in their tone of voice and the adjectives that they used. I mean, he's got an instinct for it. He couldn't identify. He just always say there's 90 seconds of solid gold, and I'd say, what is that?
Right.
And we talk it through, and he says, well, yeah, it's going to be a change in the tone of voice. It's going to be a different kind of adjective. So Ned wants you to go first because he wants to know what's going to take to make the deal.
What they want.
Right. Yeah. What they're burning for, or how they characterize what they have.
Or what they're not saying too, maybe.
Exactly right. What someone has failed to say is often a lot more important than what they have said, which is why you give it a little thought in advance. All right, what are they gonna say if they've got this? So I actually like to look for more of what they haven't said, what's glaringly missing, and that's going to take. I'm going to need you to walk through it a couple of times before that jumps out at me.
Okay. Who are the most difficult people to work with then? Would you say it's the alpha people, or would you say it's the uncertain people, or what type of people are hard to work in negotiation with?
You're talking about a little bit of a tight match, and that has a tendency. It's a little bit based on how bad I want to make the deal. Like, I don't like liars, or I don't like the most difficult people to work with in the long run are people who haven't thought anything through, which is as bad as a liar, only their heart's not in the wrong place.
They don't know what they want specifically,
or they don't know how they're gonna get this done. Which is, again, we go over and over again. I go over and over again. Yes is nothing without how. And the person who thinks like yes is going to make a deal. Well, yes is not going to make a deal because you got to have how. How are we going to put this together? And someone that doesn't think things through, a lot of times they're actually kind of dysfunctional on their own side. So they'll make promises they can't keep, and they have no idea they can't keep those promises.
Right.
And so when they take your deal, you think you've done a deal with them, they take it back to their company, and their company goes like, no, we're not doing this. This is a stupid idea. We can't do this.
Sure.
And that happens a lot. I think in a private sector, I've heard from a number of companies that fully 50% of the deals that they make that don't go through get killed internally. Because somebody cut a deal for them and they took it back to the company, and the company says, no, that violates our terms and conditions.
Right.
We can't deliver on that basis. So you're dealing with someone who just has doesn't have a clue as to what's going on their side.
Sure.
There are a lot of people like that.
When you're making a business deal, what do you recommend as the amount of time to consider the deal before saying, yes, let's do it? Like, here's the deal points. Here's what you want. Here's what I want. Okay, should we sign it right away? Should we give it 24 hours? Should we take it to our team? Should it be a week? What's like kind of a standard, do you think?
Unless you've got something in line ahead of time. The company name is the Black Swan Group because we believe there's black swans in every negotiation, which is something you didn't know, that as soon as you found out, it's going to change all the parameters.
The deal. Gotcha.
So you sit down at the table to find out the unknowns.
Huh.
And it's impossible to research all the unknowns. Plus, a lot of the unknowns, I'll find them a lot faster if I just ask you.
Right.
And I could research for 2 weeks something that I may be able to get you to tell me about in 10 minutes.
For example, what do you mean, something you'd want to ask?
I'm speaking to for a long-time client, and they have another firm that I've been affiliated with doing a different block. When I found out they were doing that block, I could subtly reach back through my network to find out what the competing / partnership firm of mine is, what they're charging, or I could just flat out
ask them.
Well, I need to get the information. A lot of information you got to get by not asking. You got to trigger it. The phrase "ask good questions," it's really get good information. And a lot of times you won't tell me stuff if I ask. But if I act like I already know, or if there are other ways, hostage negotiators trigger information without asking questions. And hostage negotiators get that information and make you feel good about giving it at the same time.
So give me an example, either in a hostage or a business deal, what that kind of trigger could be.
Well, it's going to be some sort of a statement. I might say, look, I'm sure my competing company's charging you twice as much as I am.
Oh, and then they'll tell you the answer.
They'll want to correct me.
Oh, actually, no, it's the same, or actually you're getting a better deal.
Never underestimate the other side's desire to correct you.
Wow.
Because it makes people feel powerful and smart. You're going to want to feel smarter than me. One of my clients is negotiating a deal for a commercial office building in South Carolina, and it's almost 100% occupancy. It's in a mixed-use historic area, so it means the building can't be knocked down, and nobody can build in it because it's an historic area.
Mm-hmm.
And so the building's basically impossible to replace, and it's 100% occupancy. It makes no sense to sell the building. So they're genuinely thinking, why is the seller selling? First of all, you can't ask why, because why makes people defensive. If I look at you and I say, why did you wear a black shirt? Your instant thought is going to be like, do I got to defend the black shirt?
Why I'm doing it? Yeah.
So you need to find out why, but you can't ask why because it makes people defensive.
So what would you ask there?
Well, then again, you don't want to ask at all because if you're smarter, you change your whys to whats. And it's more likely they'll respond if you say, what's making the seller want to sell? So, what is causing them to do that?
Mm-hmm. Not why are they selling?
But instead, what my student did was he said, well, seems to me the seller's selling a cash cow because of a disbelief in the market fundamentals and the future of the building.
No, let me correct you. This is why I'm doing it.
Exactly. And the other side went like, no. They got a couple buildings that are underwater. Now, I can't imagine a real estate agent answering that question ever. I mean, this is highly confidential, proprietary information. My seller is desperate for money is what the answer was. But because it was a correction, and people love to correct, they'll correct you without thinking it through. It's an involuntary response, a desire to sound smarter than you and to be right and correct you, which is a burning desire in most people because it makes me feel smart and more powerful. And I'll seize every opportunity to feel smarter and more powerful you at the table.
Gosh, it's like chess.
It's emotional chess.
Emotional chess. I love this.
If you want more greatness in your life, then you got to check out this video right here.
But because it was a correction, and people love to correct, they'll correct you without thinking it through. It's an involuntary response, a desire to sound smarter than you and to be right and correct you, which is a burning desire in most people because